At 10:15 a.m. GMT, gravity seemingly ceased to exist within the terminal. The implications were immediate and profound.
What would happen if gravity suddenly vanished? Not weakened, not reduced, completely gone. Right now, gravity is holding everything together. The oceans, the atmosphere, cities, buildings, even your own body. Without gravity, Earth would instantly become chaos. And the terrifying part is, it would happen faster than your brain could even react. The moment gravity disappeared, every human on Earth would begin floating upward. Cars would leave the roads. Planes would lose control. Entire cities would collapse into confusion within seconds. At first, people might think it was an earthquake, but then they would look outside and see something impossible. Trees lifting into the sky, streetlights drifting upward, animals floating helplessly through the air, and above them, the sky itself beginning to change. Gravity is not just a force, it is the invisible system controlling life on Earth. Without it, nothing stays where it belongs. The moon would slowly drift away, satellites would lose orbit, and Earth itself would begin changing immediately. But this is only the beginning, because the real horror would come next. The atmosphere. The air surrounding our planet exists because gravity keeps it trapped around Earth. Without gravity, the atmosphere would slowly begin escaping into space, which means every breath on Earth would become limited. Humanity would suddenly realize something horrifying. The planet itself was no longer safe. As gravity disappeared, Earth would become completely unrecognizable. The oceans would no longer stay attached to the planet. Water from rivers, lakes, and entire seas would slowly rise into the sky. Gigantic floating waves would drift across continents like moving mountains. Ships would rise from the ocean. Entire coastlines would disappear, and then the weather would begin collapsing. Without gravity controlling atmospheric pressure, storms would behave unpredictably. Massive winds would sweep across Earth. Clouds would break apart. Rain itself would stop falling normally. Imagine standing in the middle of a city, watching water float upward like smoke. Watching people desperately grab buildings to avoid drifting into the sky. Watching airplanes spiral helplessly through the atmosphere. But perhaps the most terrifying thing of all would be space. Without gravity, Earth could no longer maintain stable orbit around the sun. Slowly, our planet would begin drifting through darkness. Temperatures would start changing rapidly. Day and night cycles would become unstable, and humanity would realize something terrifying. Earth was never designed to survive without gravity. Every second would push civilization closer to extinction. Communication systems would fail, power grids would collapse, satellites would disappear into deep space, and somewhere above the planet, astronauts would watch Earth transform into chaos beneath them. But humanity still would not understand how bad things were about to become, because the deadliest stage had not even started yet. Gravity does more than keep people on the ground. It protects every living thing on Earth. Without gravity, our atmosphere would begin escaping into space. At first, humans would barely notice, but within minutes, breathing would become harder. Air pressure would begin dropping across the planet. And slowly, Earth would start becoming silent. No birds, no wind, no normal weather, only the terrifying emptiness of a dying planet. The oceans would continue floating upward, massive clouds of water drifting into space itself. Meanwhile, humans would struggle to survive inside collapsing buildings and underground shelters. But no shelter could save Earth forever, because gravity also controls Earth's core. Without gravitational pressure, the planet's internal balance could begin changing catastrophically. Volcanic activity might increase. Tectonic systems could become unstable, and Earth's magnetic field, the invisible shield protecting us from deadly radiation, could weaken over time. This would expose humanity to dangerous solar radiation from space. The sun itself would become deadly. And while all of this happened, the moon would slowly drift farther and farther away from Earth. The night sky humanity had known for thousands of years would slowly disappear forever. At this point, survival would become nearly impossible. Civilization would collapse completely. Governments, technology, cities, everything humanity spent thousands of years building would vanish. All because one invisible force disappeared: gravity. As Earth drifted deeper into chaos, humanity would face its final moments. Without gravity stabilizing the planet, Earth's journey around the sun would slowly fail. Temperatures across the planet would become extreme. Some regions would freeze in endless darkness. Others would burn beneath constant sunlight. Agriculture would collapse. Food supplies would disappear. And eventually, oxygen levels would become too low for human survival. The last remaining survivors would hide underground, watching the world above slowly die. The ocean's gone, the sky's empty, the moon disappearing into darkness. And perhaps the most terrifying thought of all, the universe would continue normally. Stars would still shine, galaxies would still move. Space itself would remain silent and endless. Only Earth would be dying, all because gravity vanished. But maybe this reveals something extraordinary. Humanity often thinks of gravity as ordinary, something invisible, something unimportant. Yet without it, life itself cannot exist. Every breath, every ocean, every mountain, every human being alive today depends entirely on a force we cannot even see. And maybe that is what makes gravity so terrifying. Because the moment it disappears, everything disappears with it. The planet, civilization, humanity itself, gone forever.